Okay, so we have your example of the test result for your antibody screen or antibody panel identification. So this one is in your page 225 in your book. So again, when we're doing your antibody panel identification, we are detecting for the blood group antibodies present in the plasma or serum of the patient. So your sample of patient would be plasma or serum containing antibody. And our reagent for that would be your panel cell. Your panel cell here, so katulad nito, this is one panel cell. Okay, so for example, your panel number 1 na cell here, ang lahat ng mga positive, mean to say, okay, yun ang kanyang content ng mga antigen. For example, your panel cell number 1 or vial 1 mo is positive for the D antigen, the C antigen, C na maliit, bigger E, negative siya dito, wala siyang bigger E, smaller E, positive. Okay, another one, your panel cell number 2 here, so second vial mo naman ito. Okay, each of that would eventually contains the specific na mga antibodies or your antigen. Okay, so therefore, gagamit ka ng several panel cells here in order for you to rule out whatever the antibody present in our patient sample. Okay, so if you have already the result, okay, basically kung na-positive ka dito sa panel number 1, okay, so you're able to identify that one. Our entire panel, antibody panel identification test is divided into different phases or stages of your reaction. The first one, the IS or your immediate spin. Then we have your 37 degrees Celsius if you try to incubate at 137. Another one is your anti-human globulin phase. Anti-human globulin. Okay, so the third one is your anti-human globulin. And we have your CC stand for your auto. This is your auto control. Auto control here is sarili niyang red cell. So, i-add mo siya sa kanyang sariling antibody. As your serum sample containing its own antibody. So, notice here natin sa IS and immediate spin. So, of all your 11 na panel cells, all would have here a negative na result signifying na again, ang antibody natin hindi IgM. Kung nag-positive ka sa immediate spin na phase here, so that would identify the presence of your IgM antibodies. 37 degree naman, incubation, so lahat ay negative din. Okay, wala tayong reaction. Okay, signifying here na hindi, antibodies natin are not reacting at 37. But notice here in your anti-human globulin phase, so may positive tayo. Okay, so we have your panel cell number 1, okay, panel cell number 3, panel cell number 4, panel cell number 6, panel cell number 7, panel cell number 10, and panel cell number 11. Okay, so mean to say that the antibody that we are detecting, suspecting here for the presence in our patient sample or plasma of this, or serum of that, is eventually reacting at anti-human globulin phase. So therefore, so dito pa lang, kung dito ka nagpass nagkaroon ng reaction at anti-human globulin, lahat ng negative na panel cells natin, hindi yan, okay, you need to cross out. So since ang panel cell number 2 natin ay negative siya, so hindi ito, wala na ito. Okay, ito naman, okay, so may positive dito, positive. Next cell mo is wala din ito, so hindi na dito, X na itong panel cell number 5 natin. Dito naman, okay, so this one is also X din siya. Kasi walang positive dito. This one is also negative here. So, wala din ito. Okay, then, okay, ang naiwan na lang na panel cell natin nag-positive is for panel cell number 1. Okay, panel cell number 3. Panel cell number 4. Panel cell number 6. Okay, panel cell number 7. So, panel cell number 10. Panel cell number 11. Okay, then we need to check here each of your blood group here, blood group antigen. So, notice here that we start here dito sa D na positive, or D, bigger D. So, D natin yung positive siya dito. Okay, pwede siya. Positive siya dito. Positive siya din dito sa 3. Positive siya dito sa... Okay, dito naman, negative siya. Okay, negative. Since negative siya dito, since dapat positive ang result natin, so since negative siya dito, mean to say hindi siya ang hinahanap natin. So, cross out na natin yan. Okay, the next one, C. So, positive siya dito. Dito nag-positive siya dapat, di ba? Negative siya dito, positive na siya dito. Dito pa lang, Okay, dito correct. Tama siya kasi positive din naman dito. Okay, dito nga lang, positive siya dito, negative ito, so hindi na siya. Okay, the next one, ito. Okay, so positive siya dito, ang smaller c, yes. Okay, dito naman negative siya, okay, yes, pareho silang negative. Positive siya din dito, pareho siya, okay, correct. Positive din dito. Kaso nga lang dito niya ay positive siya dito, which is dapat negative. So, hindi ito. Wala na ito. So, hindi yan ang antibody na hinahanap natin. Ito naman positive. Okay, next na positive pa din dapat, which is negative. So, hindi din ito. Okay, then we have your CW, negative na. Dapat positive dito. Negative siya dito pa lang sa paano sa number 1 natin. We're supposed to be positive. So, hindi din ito. Okay, your Kel here. So, dapat positive dito since negative ang result niya. Okay, so hindi din ito hinahanap natin. Okay, next we have your K. Okay, positive dito. Pero dito ay positive result niya. Dapat na negative. So, hindi itong hinahanap natin. Okay, ito naman sa KPA. Positive, sa kanya negative. Okay, hindi ikaw. Ito pala ang negative na siya. KPB, positive. Okay, positive. Positive siya dito. It's supposed to be negative. Okay, hindi ito hinahanap natin. Okay, JSA. Okay, GSA. Negative siya dito na dapat positive. Ay, okay, una pa lang, hindi na siya. Okay, GSB, positive. Okay, yes, positive. Dito dapat ay negative, sa kanya ay positive. Okay, hindi din ito. Okay, FYA. Okay, positive. Okay, negative dito, negative din siya. Positive dito, positive siya. Positive dito, positive din siya. Negative siya dito, negative din. Positive, 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 positive. Negative, negative siya. Negative dito, negative din siya. Positive dito, positive dito, positive dito, positive. Okay. Nag-fit ang ating FYA. So, most likely, ito ang hinahanap natin. So, mean to say your patient has FYA. So, next na natin ang sunod, KP. Okay, that's your FYB. Positive. Positive siya. Ay, sorry, hindi na siya agad. Okay, dito positive. Dapat dito ay negative. Ay, hindi din ito. Okay, positive. Negative. Positive. Positive. Ay, negative. Okay, hindi ikaw. Okay, so ito negative na siya agad. Hindi din ito. Ito positive. Negative. Positive. Ay, sorry, hindi din siya. Dito, positive. Positive. Negative. Ay, positive siya. Hindi. Okay, positive, positive, yes. Positive, negative, ay positive siya, hindi. Okay, positive, negative, positive, ay negative siya, hindi din siya. Okay, so, okay, ang patient natin may anti-FYA na antibody kasi, okay, as what we have here, obtained with our exclusion. Okay, then we have here some of the things that we need to consider in order for us then to identify our antibody. The first one, in what phase did the reaction occur? Okay, so in our case, okay, so we have here the 3 phases. So most likely dito siya sa anti-human globulin phase. Okay, so what would be the meaning of that? So like for example, kung nag-positive ito in immediate spin, 37, the human globulin phase. So kung nag-positive siya dito, it will identify that your patient contains here an antibody reacting at different phases. But in our case, so saan lang siya reactive at anti-human globulin lang siya, so it will identify na what antibody here will be present is only one type of antibody. Second here is an autologous control, positive or negative. Okay, so autologous control here, CC natin. Okay, so dito negative, negative. Okay, sa antibody natin. Okay, so that will signify, para sa ang autologous control natin, it would identify if what is present na antibody ba sa autoantibody o hindi. Pag nag-positive ka sa autologous control, it will identify that you have an autoantibody. Pag negative ka, so it will signify that you have an allo-antibody, not an autoantibody. Allo-antibody is antibody produced out from your other individual na mga blood groups. The third one, did more than one screening cell react? If so, did they react in the same strength and phase. Okay, so dito ba ilan? So madami tayo. 1. Paano sa number 1, number 2? So madami. Pero paano ang kanilang reaction? May 3 plus, may 3 plus, 2 plus, iba-iba kanyang reaction. Regardless kung anong strength ang ating reaction, it doesn't matter. What matter here is positive or may reaction siya. But the strength here is not consideration when we are detecting for the antibodies, just the presence. Basta may reaction siya, so okay pa din siya. Basta, regardless kung ano kanyang strength of reactions. The strength of the reaction here vary. Bakit may 2 plus doon sa panel sa number 1? Okay, so 3 plus dito. Okay, 3 plus, 3 plus. Bakit dito 2 plus? It's because here it highly dependent on the following factors. Number 1, some of your antigen here or antibody presence in a patient sample shows a dosage effect. So pag dosage effect, so namimili ang ating antibody in your patient. So dapat your antigen na panel natin, ang antigen mo dapat dito, as our panel cells here, ito yung mga panel cells natin. At mga itong content niya. Your antigen here shows eventually um, you should have here your homozygous expression of your antigen in order for you to have a strong reaction of the antibodies which are homozygous. Because they try to show here dosage effect. Another one, presence of more than one antibody, antigenous variable expression. The fourth one is there an evidence of hemolytic reaction. Hemolytic reaction may be, pag may hemolysis here, paano malaman na hemolysis siya? Pag nag-centrifuge tayo, makikita mo naman diba red ang plasma natin. So pag red siya, it might be because of related to other blood groups. These are the following blood groups which try to cause here your hemolytic reaction. So this includes your anti-Lewis A, anti-Lewis A, anti-Lewis B, anti-PP1PK, and we have your anti-Ver. All of them will try to cause here your hemolysis. On the other hand, is there an evidence of your mixed field reaction? Or the mixed field reaction is related to the following blood groups. SDA. Another one is your anti-Lutheran. So, pag nagkaroon tayo ng mixed field reaction, so it might also help in identification, especially for the blood group antibody which try to cause here mixed field reactions. Now, your mixed field reaction is associated with the following blood groups, anti-SDA, and we have also your anti-Lutheran. Number 5 is cell through agglutination is just a pseudo-agglutination. Usually, nagkakaroon tayo ng pseudo-agglutination or the roll-off formation in the presence of your increased plasma proteins. Like in the case of your plasma expander, your dextran, in the case also of your increased plasma proteins related to your multiple myeloma, Waldenstrom macroglobulinemia. But then again, if nakita mo ba is through agglutination or roll-off formation, you can discriminate that one by your saline washing. Di ba in your tube method saka ang ating solid phase adherence, we tend to wash saline washing for 3 times. So by doing the saline washing for 3 times, it will wash off your pseudo-agglutination or your roll-off formation. So hindi natin magiging problem with our interpretation if that one is just a pseudo-agglutination related to your roll-off formation in your test tube method and even in your solid phase adherence. Because again, we are doing the washing step. Magiging problem natin ang ating interpretation, especially for the presence of your plasma proteins, having the roll-off formation if you are using your gel technique. Okay, your gel, nabubura na sila lahat. Your gel technique natin, hindi ka nagpe-perform ng saline washing for 3 times. And therefore, it might cause here error in the interpretation. Baka sabihin mo na positive reaction yan because may agglutination. But actually, it's not. It's just be related to increased plasma protein. And since hindi ka nag-wash 3 times ng saline washing or nagpe-perform ng saline washing for 3 times in the gel technique, so you could able to encounter the problem here with regards to your through agglutination versus your pseudo agglutination with your gel technique, but not with the tube method, not with our solid phase adherence technique. Okay, then we have also here the limitations when we are doing your antibody screening or antibody panel identification. Number one, we have your, again, this test would only be identifying here the clinically significant antibodies. Clinically significant antibodies are those which are reactive at 37 degrees Celsius. And second one, no antibody will also be detected if, even if the patient would have antibodies, you could still not detect that one if the titer of that antibody present per patient sample has already dropped below the level sensitivity level of your red cell antigen or your panel cells as your reagent. So kung below sensitivity level niya, hindi niya kayang i-detect natin. And the third one, antibody showing here your dosage activity. So again, even if the patient would have an antibody present in his sample, kung ang ating red cell antigen, your reagent is not showing homozygous expression of that antigen against that patient antibody, it will still not give a very good or a very positive reaction. So weak reaction that will be missed, especially if that antibody is dosage, having a dosage activity. Kaya nga, when you are selecting for your panel cells as your antigen, make sure that one is your agent contains the antigens which are showing homozygous expression, especially for those antibodies which try to show their dosage activity. We have here factors that affects our test results. The first ones, we have here the ideal serum cell ratio, that's 2:1. Okay, that 2 drops of your serum, 1 drop of your suspension, that would be considered here as in your zone of the equivalence that would allows you to have your agglutination reaction. Another one, temperature. So this will identify the type of the antibody presence. Again, we have three phases, diba? So we have that one, immediate spin. Immediate spin would identify the IgM 37 at IgG antibody, or even and the hemoglobin phase will identify also here the IgG antibodies. So from there, malalaman natin, we'll already give an idea of what are we expecting to have as our antibody present patient sample. Then length of incubation will be highly dependent on what um, potentiators or what enhancement media is being utilized. So pwede siya kung mga LISS, so mga 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, pH, ideal pH for antigen-antibody reaction occur at 6.5 to 7.5, 6.8 to 7.2. Because the previous natin na discussion, 6.5 to 7.5. Except your anti-M antibody reactive at less than 6.5. And therefore, that the serum of the patient should be acidified if you wanted to detect the presence of your anti-M antibody. Okay, we have here pag nag-positive ang patient. Like for example, okay, anti-FYA ang antibody na na-detect natin. Okay, so anong next na gagawin natin? Remember here that pag nag-develop tayo ng antibody, dapat previously ang patient natin ay negative for that antigen. So, dapat may history siya ng pregnancy, may history siya ng transfusion, that would allow the patient to develop antibody because previously negative ang patient natin for that antigen. So, like for example, for this one, so mean to say that ang patient natin dati ay FYA negative. So, sinalinan siya ng blood na positive for the FYA or na pregnant na patient na positive for the FIA, na-expose siya, and therefore, it allows the patient to develop an anti-FYA antibody. So, pag walang history, okay, try to check for that. That's why pag na-positive, you try to consider the following: age, sex, race, diagnosis. Kasi may mga certain blood group tayo na madami sa mga black population, something like that, sa black population. It might also help you to support your result as tama or hindi. Then transfusion history, the most important, or even the pregnancy history. So, pag wala siya mga ganitong history, it might be baka mali ang na-identify mo na antibody. Or even your IV solution that also try to trigger the some reaction na feeling mo positive, actually hindi. Okay, then we have also here again the additional guidelines for you to help you identify your corresponding antibody. The first one is what phase strength the positive reaction occurs. So again, in what phase? So IS by spin 37 is that the hemoglobin phase. Reaction is that pare-pareho bang reaction. So kung iba-ibang phase, or strength here would identify na there you have several antibodies. Do all the positive cells react at the same phase or do any react with different at multiple phase? So, that's what I'm saying here. Pag iba-iba kanyang reaction doon sa mag-positive siya sa anti-hemoglobin phase, ang positive na 37, iba-iba kanyang strength, it would identify that you have a different antibodies. Third one, the serum reactivity match any of the remaining specificities. Okay, so na-rule out natin kanina, since positive siya dito, positive siya, positive siya, so this would identify your FYA. Okay, another one are all commonly encountered RBC antibody excluded. Anti-E, anti-KP, anti-GSA. Most likely kasi majority of the population for that are negative for that. Okay, so these are most likely commonly encountered na RBC antigens. Corresponding to the patient's antibody. Most likely kasi negative ang population natin for this. Another one is autologous control or positive negative. Again, yung autologous control will identify if that one is autoimmune disorder or hindi. Pag positive ka sa autologous control, it will identify that one is autoimmune disorders. Number 6, is there sufficient evidence to prove that the suspected antibody is really anti-FYA? O naman, kasi di ba positive siya dito kanina. Okay, positive na rule out na naman natin siya na anti-FYA. And the most important thing here, thus, the patient lacked the antigen corresponding to the antibody. So what do you mean by that one? You need to test here for the patient's red cell kung positive siya for that antigen. And for example, this one, since mayroon siyang anti-FYA, as a kanyang antibody, dapat ang kanyang red cell should have FYA negative. Hindi pwede na may antibody ang patient natin, tapos FYA positive din siya. Remember that nag-develop siya ng anti-FYA na antibody is because previously negative siya for your FYA antigen. And therefore, since may antibody na siya, dapat ang FYA antigen na sa red cell niya is negative. Kung meron ko ito na-detect mo ng antibody, tapos ang red cell is positive also for that, baka nagkamali ka ng pag-exclude or identify. Okay, then we have also here additional tests in order for you to really identify the antibody present sa patient sample. So, kung minsan, pag hindi mo ma-identify, you can add another panel cell. So, magdadagdag ka pa para ma-rule out mo lalo. Second one, you could also perform the enzyme treatment. So, it's based on the principle here that there are blood groups in our body which has been enhanced by addition of our routine blood banking enzymes. It includes here your DAFI, your RH, your KID, your Lewis, your I, your P1, and the ABO blood group system. And the following blood groups antibodies on the other hand are inactivated or destroyed by addition of your routine enzyme treatment. So we have your DAFI, your MNS, and we have your XGA. You could also perform neutralization tests. Again, pag enhance, pag nag-add ka ng routine enzyme, so after that one, andun pa rin siya, so that antibody is enhanced. Pero pag nag-add ka ng enzyme, tapos after that one, nag-test ka ulit, nawala ng reaction, so mean to say, has been destroyed by our enzyme. So ito ang isususpect natin na presence of the antibody present in the patient sample. Another one, you could also perform the neutralization test where you are using the different substances found in the serum or plasma or even in nature na pwede nating i-neutralize sa particular specific na blood group antibodies. And eventually that would help here to identify those antibodies. Example, your anti-P1, so pwede mo ito ma-identify by neutralization by addition of your hydrated cysts, pigeon droppings, turtle doves, and egg white. So, ito mga sources ng ating P1 antigen. Your anti-Lewis on the other hand, so this one is being also neutralized by your plasma, serum, or even your saliva. Anti-Cheater Rogers could be neutralized also here by the serum containing your complement. And we have anti-SDA could be neutralized by addition of our urine. And anti-I could be neutralized here by human breast milk. So aside from that one, you could also perform adsorption and elution. Pag adsorption, ang ating antibody ay lalagay natin sa red cell. Pag elution naman, tatanggalin natin for us then to identify those antibodies. So para it's just a way of concentrating your antibodies. Okay, then we have also here okay, so we have here providing compatible unit of the blood. Okay, so the formula for that is the number or the unit, the number of the unit or the blood unit that's being requested by the physician, and then over the percentage of the frequency of your negative for that antigen. Okay, so for example, for the D blood group system for your RH, ito yung mga frequency natin, 85%, for the D, 15%. Okay, this frequency here represent the frequency of the population with a positive. So, para makahanap tayo ng dugo, for example, so, since the patient would have an antibody, so dapat hinahanap natin is negative siya for that particular antigen. Sample number 1, ang kailangan ng unit ng dugo niya is 2 unit. So, kaso nga lang pasyente natin ay may anti-E. So, pag may anti-E, may antibody recipient, dapat bibigyan mo siya ng ito, ng E negative. Diba? So, this is positive kasi 30% population are positive for the D. So, ang frequency ng negative natin is the remaining 70%. Okay, that would eventually try to express this one as the decimal place. That's 0.70. Okay, that's 2 over 0.70. That gives you 2.8 or 3. So, 3 units, okay, will be needed here. 3 units will be needed in order for you to find your patient na may negative for the E antigen. So, parang ano na siya, probability. Pero pag dalawa ang hinahanap, like this one, the patient has been requested with the 2 units, pero dalawa, meron siyang dalawang antibody, anti-E, saka anti-C na maliit. So, ito, since ang ating frequency nito na positive sa kanila is 30%, okay, so again, ang ating hanapin is negative for the E. Okay, kasi may antibody yung recipient natin, so dapat E negative siya. So, ganyan. Ang frequency nito is the remaining ng ganito. So, that's 70%. Decimal of that to become your 0.70. On the other hand, ito naman may anti-C. Frequency natin 70. So, ang C negative natin is remaining nito, that's 30. Ito, ay, teka lang. Ito pala. Okay, the smaller C pala. So, since may anti-C ang patient natin na maliit, so ang frequency nito, ito. Since 80% are positive, so ang hinahanap natin para maging compatible sa recipient natin na may antibody niya is negative for that. So, the remaining nito, that's 20. Decimal nito is 0.20. So, all you need to do is 2 dun sa taas because this is the number of unit na kailangan natin multiply sa ating frequency ng ito. Negative for your E na malaki and negative for maliit na C. Okay, ang result na 14.3 or 14 or 15. So, what do you mean by 14 or 15? So, this is the unit of the blood na i-check natin in order for us to find dalawa na unit ng blood na negative for the C and negative for the C. Negative for the E na malaki and negative for the C na maliit. Okay, so that's it for our antibody panel identification. Thank you.